To me, what makes a good father is the ability to love, to serve, to provide. The reason why I believe that is, in a fatherhood role, it ain't easy to have, as my father did, 8 children and love, provide and to serve every single one of them equally and the same. To do that, you kind of need strong grounding, and my dad had strong groundings. What I took from my father having these things is, in his household, which I was part of it, and I'm thankful to be part of it, I was able to learn from him how to be stable, how to love, how to serve, how to be a provider. It kept me afloat. It kept me in a warm household. It kept me every night I can come home and, not feel the cold. I had food in my belly. This was my father. These are the things I remember from my father, and I appreciate him did it because it's my dad.
A role of a father is, I believe a role of a father is to be able to stand on the shoulders of the previous generation of fathers and hand down the skills, the wisdom, everything that can bring the next generation of fathers to the next level. I believe that our job, the way that we can live forever, is through giving the information that makes us go forward as people to the next generation, teaching the next generation to learn from our mistakes, but also to build upon from our success. A few characteristics of a father: to be able to impart knowledge and understanding to their children, to be wise enough and forthcoming enough, because I don't think we are, sometimes we're not quick enough to let go of our errors and actually display our errors as fathers, so that the next generation see it being exposed and say, well, look, these are the errors, rather than finding out years to come, oh, well, my father didn't do this right. I think when you can expose your errors and allow your children to see it for what it is, this is what I did, that was a bit wrong, you actually grow in your children's eyes, because they now see that making errors and making mistakes is not a taboo subject, which can happen quite a lot when we're fathers, because we want them to we want them to see us as their heroes. I think we have that innate desire to be wanting to be seen as heroes. But a true hero is, I believe, that when they can expose when they've messed up and say, look, son, this is what I've done, or look, daughter, this is what I've done. Don't do this. You get more points that way with your children, because they now know that making an error is is the next step closer to being successful. And I think that sometimes we let that not be one of the lessons in life. If we have that experience first, and then we can share that lesson afterwards, then they feel happier to know that you've had that experience, and that when one day they may have that experience of making a genuine mistake, that they can pick themselves up, even when there is an audience. I was in the park today and I was trying to climb the bars, and my youngest daughter did it really well. My other children did it well, and I went to go and climb the bars, and I completely missed the bar, slipped, let go of the bar with my other hand, and landed on my side, bang. And they all kind of looked and laughed, and my instant reaction when I was on the floor was to actually look and see who saw me fall. But as I was there, I turned around, as I was on the floor, I got up immediately and looked at my son and said, this is how you don't do it. Looking at my children, this is how you don't do it. And they all laughed, and I'm sure there are other people looking, but it was important that contact was made. And I use that because we're not used to doing that in the arena of life, in the playground of life. making mistakes, and being able to communicate that with your offspring.
5 things I've learned about fatherhood from my dad's example is 1, takes respect. 2, it takes lots of love. 3, it takes patience. 4, you need to dedicate a lot of your time. And 5, it's a wonderful experience. In terms of dedicating your time to your children, it's like giving them the time that shows that you love them, nurture them, work with them, like finding out what's their passions, just trying to really understand that child, that you have understanding like the new character that this child's going to come up with.
And then when we was growing up, he would give us, he'd put the cups down with his pouring hot chocolate, and he'd put the numbers on the cups, and everyone had to pick a number. These funny games you remember. You'd all pick a number, and these cups had different sizes of hot chocolate. So even though we all wanted the biggest one, we would never know because we had to pick a number, and then we'd all get whatever cup we got. And then at the end of it, if you got the littlest cup, you'd pour a little bit in, but you couldn't show sore loser. So he taught us how to be a man. Don't be a sore loser, because nobody ever gets it. Nobody likes that. So you'd top it up a little bit if you didn't show signs of sore losing. And we grew up with that grounding and that love and that stability and that unity. Me and my siblings, he united us to love one another and to respect it and to be fair. And I think that's very important because it grew me the way I am today, and I got a lot of love and respect for him because of that.
I can always hear my dad echoing this right through time, from when I was a kid all the way through, that inheritance is not, when my dad passed away, inheritance is not what's in the house. As far as I'm concerned, everything in the house can go to everybody else. But the inheritance, true inheritance, is what's inside his head. And if I can tap into the past and feed from the present, then my inheritance is there already, because that will propel me into my future. So my thing when it's in receiving from my dad, I think my dad has really spent more time in teaching me how to receive information as the key to inheritance, rather than the key to things that are corruptible, that are going to go, the ornament or the family loom or the house or whatever. These things are depreciating assets, but this asset that can continue through time is what's here, and that's the most important thing.
The role of a father. The role of a father is to provide. It's to provide in a variety of different areas. It's to provide sustenance, to put food on the table, to put shelter over your children's head, to provide heat when it's cold, to provide love, to provide care, to provide protection, to provide so many things in terms of a child. A father must always be there for his child, as far as I'm concerned. And he must do his best for his child. That's the role of a father. A father must be a provider. He must provide advice. Sometimes he must provide chastisement. Sometimes he must provide a listening ear. But all the time he must provide. That's the role of a father. My dad was a great man. He provided everything I needed. There are some things he didn't provide. And whereas I'm like my father in many areas, I'm completely opposite in others. He was a giant in my life, and he taught me so much. He taught me about the things that I should be as a father, and I learned about the things I shouldn't be as a father. There are no rules, there are no guidebooks, there is no person with the definitive knowledge on how to be the father, because all children are different. And I guess you have to adapt in terms of how you raise your children. So I guess I've learnt from adapting, I've learnt by listening, I've learnt by paying attention, I've learnt by being interested, I've learnt by loving my children and wanting the best for them. I've learnt from my past experiences, and that has formulated, I guess, the way the way I've tried to conduct myself as a father. You have to show an interest in your child, and the interest is not temporary, the interest is permanent. Your child is always your child, even when they're grown up, even when they're bigger than you and stronger than you, they are still your child. And you must never, ever, ever lose interest in your children. Never. Because the moment you stop losing interest, other people or other things will take interest in your children. And then you hand over your parenting to other things or to other people. And if you give up, what's the point? And my dad was, he was a character. He was a bit of a ladies' man. He liked to drink. But he gave me whatever he thought I needed. He would defend me. I knew that if there was any problem, I could run into the house that was called my father. He would shut the doors and I would be protected by my father. And there are numerous occasions when he's done that. I've been in, I grew up in Brixton, that wonderful suburban city of London, where the clientele are all wonderful people. And it was the best years of my life. But it was a tough place to grow up. Tough place, tough place. This was in the late 60s and the early 70s. Let's just say in Brixton, I was relatively unique in appearance. There wasn't too many of my sort around. And I used to get into scrapes, and I used to have to battle my battles. And if the opponents became more numerous than I could handle, my father was there. And my father was Superman, just like me. And anything that was to come against me, I was always of the firm belief that my dad could deal with it. And I guess that's the way I've tried to live my life. That no matter what the problems come against them, my children have to grow up and deal with their own issues, don't get me wrong, because at some point, Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child and I thought as a child. Now I'm a man, I put away childish things, and I expect my children, my male children, to become men and to deal with life and to care for their family the way that hopefully they see that I've cared for them. But my dad would always be there, you know. He would always be there in terms of if I needed something, he'd provide. And sometimes he said to me, no, I'm not giving it to you. Go and get it yourself. So sometimes providing is not providing, if that makes sense to you, because it means you've got to provide for yourself. And these are things that I've learned, and with the help of God, I don't think my children have wanted for too much throughout their life, and I've got 8 of them, and they all have their separate demands.